Morning. Ty? Oh, wait, no. There we go. There we go, that one. Okay. All right. So, good morning. I'm so glad to see everybody. And we jumped subjects today because we felt it was so important. We have seen the community. We have seen, for those of you who were able to stay connected and those of you who weren't, and the impact. You know, we've all come through a really trying few years. It was. I don't know. Well, I'll speak for myself. I hated it. It was hard. So there is an epidemic of loneliness right now in the United States, and lacking connection can increase the risk of premature death to levels comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Yeah, right? And that's according to the U.S. Surgeon General. So the report that was released, Our Epidemic of Loneliness and Isolation, finds that even before COVID-19, the pandemic, about half of U.S. adults reported experiencing measurable levels of loneliness. And it warns that the physical consequences of poor connection can be devastating, including a 29% increase of heart disease, a 32% increase of stroke, and a 50% increased risk of developing dementia for older adults. Those are pretty shocking statistics. Those are shocking statistics. And I think that what I'd like to do today is pull together. So this month was the shadow. It was all about the shadow. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I have been thoroughly enjoying the global theme that CSL developed this year, because I feel like it's the first time where it involves spirituality, the science of mind, and then our human ways of being, so that we can evolve to the individual we're meant to be. So the fact that we've been talking about vulnerability and now the shadow and authenticity, all of these things are the things that make us rich. So, but what I want to tie together is the shadow and loneliness, because I've been pondering this for weeks. We decided 3 or 4 weeks ago that we would change today's talk. So for all that time, I'm looking for those threads and how to tie things together. And it just came together for me. Because when we have shadow, and if you're crazy like I am, you want to look at the shadow, you want to uncover it, you want to put light on it, because if you're, again, like me, I'm like a gold digger, and I know that down deep in the midst of that shadow is self-empowerment and self-love and self-compassion that I can't get to without being willing to go into the shadow. So, but that's just me. You might just prefer playing darts. Me, I do all this stuff. But what happens is, there are aspects of our shadow, some that most of us don't know most of them until we start the journey. But what happens is, we don't want to be seen as our shadow. Some of us don't want to be seen and identified as our shadow, right? Does that make sense? So in that, what happens is, we retract. We pull away. Because I don't necessarily want you to see my face. I don't necessarily want you to see my flaws. Although right now I'm going to quote somebody, and I adore you. You're going to know who you are the second I quote you. My ass fit through the crevice. Do you know what I'm talking about? So Maggie and Joe went climbing. And Maggie is a teacher for me, she's so raw and so authentic, and she loves herself enough to let it all out. And so there's a video of her climbing, I don't know where the hell you were, but it looks scary to me, climbing up this little tiny crevice, and she gets to the top and she says, My ass fit through the crevice. Now, why I bring this out is because someone who's willing to be so raw, so naked, so authentic, is very likely not afraid of her shadow. But many of us are. We have things about us that we don't want seen. Can anybody relate to that? And so what happens is, she's still laughing. We pull away and we pull in and we guard, and then we don a mask. We put a mask on, because at least I can present a mask that's better than what's here. I wish I could get to my own. Do you have a phone? Can you go to the PHI site for the blog, get my latest blog? I want to read a piece to you. Because we are still, we being, there's a group of us during the day that are still meeting for this book study. This is on Gabor Mate's The Myth of Normal. And this group, we are very raw with each other. We're just very raw, and it's brilliant for me, because I'm not showing up there as the minister, as the teacher. I'm really just showing up as part of the book study. So I've been having healings one after the other, just because I've been willing to be naked in that raw sharing. Because there's a lot of me that walks around the world not always feeling safe. Did you find it yet? Oh, that's okay. If you have it, you can give it to me, I'll take it. Because you'll get the real feeling. You'll get the feeling what I want you to hear if I read my own words. You got it? Okay. Whoever gets to it first gets a prize. A kiss. Bear with me. You got it? Oh, he beat you. That's what I'm looking for. I'll kiss you anyway. Now, where's the blog? Shoot. Bear with me, folks, because it really does make a difference. And I have something else pulled up on my phone, otherwise I would, that's not it. I need my, that's weird. Maybe it's last week's. Here's the point. What's the name of the blog? I don't remember right now. There are some times when I walk in here, I realize, oh, you got it?
Yeah. As a teacher, I consider my job.
Ah, there you go. Bless your little heart. See, you do get the kiss. Okay.
Do I get a kiss?
Yes, you get a kiss now. Oh, yeah, don't trip. Love you. Okay, this came out of the book study because I let myself feel. And when I let myself feel, I'm willing to go into what sometimes I call the ugly. And when I do that, oh. I just called somebody back on you. Oh well. So here's what came as a result of that morning, that conversation. Don't watch me as I walk into a room and think that I exude confidence. Don't be fooled by the training that improved my posture and the tilt of my head. I need you not to be fooled. I need you to see the cracks in my shell. So fragile am I, so desperate to be what I project. But alas, I am not. The tenderness might be commendable, but it is painful, even as I hide in my own self-created shadow. I shudder. I beg you to give me permission to act small, if only for a moment, certainly not for a lifetime. My essence needs to be naked in my vulnerability right now. I need to not hide. I need to feel the pain. I need to not fool you. When I fool you, you feed my lies. I am more than what I project. I am also a child of the beloved one, sacred and holy and worthy of emancipation. So do not lose faith in me as I venture through the garden of my soul, seeking my own refuge. For this Yeah, seeking my own refuge. So many of us have so many things that we haven't learned to love and accept. And it might just be little pieces of you, but often we blind ourselves with those pieces. And then we go into this place of trying to hide. And so what's happening is that we're creating the loneliness because I don't want you to see my flaws. I don't want you to see them. But here's what I know. And I couldn't remember all the words, but I decided to look up some of the quantum theories. This part's just for amusement. There's the string theory, the M theory, the grand unified theory, theory of everything, multiverse theory, dark matter, dark energy, cosmology, black holes, and general relativity. Those are all the quantum theories happening out there. They have now speaking about, with the string theory and quarks and all these things that are connected, they have proven beyond doubt that there's no place where there's nothing. There's something everywhere. They have proven beyond a doubt about how in between the spaces of the molecules, there's whole universes happening. There is activity beyond our understanding. But here's what it is, especially, and I'm speaking now specifically to people in these kind of communities, we often think that we want to do things ourselves. We don't have a relationship with God because, you're too elevated to have a relationship with God. That was a little judgmental. Caught that, sorry. But what I mean is you might not want to use that word. And there's others that totally depend upon that word. But the fact is, whether you call it God or spirit or energy or love or joy, it is an intelligence that shows up. And if you like to relate to it as intelligence, it shows up as that. If you want to relate to it as love, it shows up through you as love. But when we develop this relationship with this beautiful, amazing, profound entity, you can't be alone. You could be alone in the room. You could be not in a relationship. Those can exist. And sometimes you might be a little lonely because you just haven't been making any plans. But you and I are never alone. I can't drive that. This is 21 years, and this was a beginning message we started with in the beginning. And it sounds so, not euphoric, it sounds so ethereal, and it almost sounds like it's just like a Hallmark card. But the truth is, when you develop that relationship on your terms with your words, there's no opportunity for you to be alone. And I can remember, I definitely remember some of my journey. And one of the first things is when I was, in my first marriage, my then husband and my two sons were going to go on a camping trip, and they were leaving, and it would be the first time in my life I ever stayed alone. And I was in a full-out panic, and I woke up in the morning and they left, and I was crying and I was afraid, and then I had to go through all these manipulations during the day to entertain and distract myself from myself. I had to distract myself from my own pain. You get that? That's what we do. But by the end of the day, that night, I ordered Chinese food and was watching TV, and I was like, oh, okay. So that started the change. That started it for me. And then when I finally when I found Science and Wine, and my teacher incessantly every week said, you're never alone, you're never alone, you're never alone. I'm like, and then one day I'm driving in the car, and that voice in the back of my head, it hit me as my hands were on the steering wheel when I was feeling lonely, went, oh, I'm not alone. And I haven't been alone since. I've had some lonely times. Times before, when Neil and I got together, and there was years. I was single for years. And I'm an introvert, so some of it can get a little confusing because I don't really want to be around large crowds of people unless I know everybody in the room. It's just the way I'm made up. But I never had to be alone again. And I love, it's a I think it's a powerful movie, the movie Crash. And it's too much to explain to you all right now, but I do yourself a favor, look it up and put it on your to-see list. Because one of the opening lines, Cheadle, what's his name? Huh? Yes, Don Cheadle. One of the opening lines in the movie, he says, I believe that sometimes in life we just crash into each other because we need to connect. Something like that. Nobody here should ever feel alone. You're part of a community that wants to love and serve you. You are. If you allow yourself to be lonely, then you're not tapping into the resources. And I want to tell you, any one of you who might be interested and willing to start a book group, the book group itself is the most beautiful way to, be in conversation, especially high-level conversation. And Neil, I don't know what you said during your power talk to remind me. This is probably my favorite Christian prayer. My favorite psalm is, I can't remember the number right now, 23, Psalm 23. This is my favorite Christian prayer, and you know it. And if you do, I'd like you to speak it out loud with me. It's the prayer of St. Francis. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith, let me hear it. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. And it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Now I read that to you because I really do believe that if you've been gifted the opportunity to meet in with this community, I believe we are all here, literally. Priscilla, Amy, Elaine, Barbara, everybody. Sal, everybody. Cindy, Gade, that you are ordained to make a difference. You are ordained to make a difference because if you have the luxury of knowing that you have choice, if you have that luxury, you are ahead of the masses. If you have the luxury of knowing that you don't have to be at the mercy of life, you're ahead. You have a gift that needs to be given and spoken about and shared. And I don't care how you do it. In your jobs, in the street, in your poetry, in your songs, in your teaching. I don't care how you do it. There are hungry, lonely, desperate people. And we are positioned beautifully to make a difference. We are. It might feel daunting, but it's nothing compared to those who are at the mercy of their conditions because they don't know how to get out from under it. Capiche? Don't be alone. And yeah, we are a stubborn community of people, and often we think we're supposed, because we confuse taking responsibility with having to do it all ourselves. Well, you don't. You don't. One of our community members last week had to suddenly go into the hospital for a procedure, and we just surrounded her. We surrounded her with prayers, with food, with support, with phone calls, with visits. It wasn't just, let's pray and move on. It was all of it. And that's who we are, and that's what we have to give to each other. So, I feel like there was something I wanted to leave you with. just my invitation for you is to go home and develop a relationship with that molten in soup that's intelligence and love, and that it creates through us. Make that your focus, and all the other things will fall into place. I promise you that. So, let's treat. But what I want to ask you to do is to hold hands. I want to ask you to connect. Please stand and, stand and connect. Yeah. Because that energy that you suddenly feel when you hold someone's hand, that's real. That's real. That's love moving through each of us. So if you're home and you're on Zoom, just hold the intention to stay connected with the rest of us. And know with me right now that there is a love right here. There is a love happening right here. And this love gently guides us into our inner landscape where we get to see and love our shadow and not be afraid. No longer do we need to be afraid. We get to come out from behind it, to be naked in the light of love, to have the courage to do that, and to know that we each are the place where love resides, and in residing there we carry it wherever we go, wherever we are. Feeling blessed for this community, feeling blessed for this activity. I just say thank you. And I surrender this word to love and to law. And so it is. I want to say one thing to you, and they're about to go into a song of just one sentence. I saw the look of panic on Celine's face. I have a listening workshop that's coming in a couple of weeks. I think it's a Tuesday night. It's an opportunity to feel loved through listening. It's a very simple 2-hour thing, but I want to invite you all to be there.
My mama told me when I was young, we are all born superstars.